You're listening to the Southampton Dellivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a washing machine.
Fonte with a scooping header.
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
Отдача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0! Buffon shot! Oh my word!
Unbelievable. He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Dellivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans, and available right here on southamptondelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope you enjoy it. And I just want to say thank you for being here. This is episode 200, and if this is your first time, if you've been here since the very beginning, just thank you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the show. A lot of you, thank you for your kind words over the course of the past 4 years. It's been a wonderful journey. I've learned a lot, and I just need to say thank you to all of you, because that's really the most important thing, is to say thank you. The guests make this show great. And I also want to say that it's different doing a show when you don't live near the team, when you can't see the team each week. You don't get to go and be in the stadium and have that kind of match day experience. And so to be able to have my own kind of match day experience and my own kind of routine around the team, I think is super important. And I also feel very, very fortunate that my routine around the team hasn't really changed as a result of the coronavirus. And I know that so many, and including my guest this week, Dan James, things are completely different now. And I'm just lucky that my kind of routine is still there and my connection to the team hasn't changed at all. So I just want to say thank you. And I know that a lot of you will have been around a while, but I do think it's important for me to say and be really honest when I say this, is that, like, when I started the show, I wanted there to be a Saints podcast. I wanted to listen to a Saints podcast. That is the real reason I started. I wanted to, if nobody else was going to have the conversation, I wanted to help start one. And just because I like podcasts a lot, I didn't necessarily think I was going to make the best host. I still don't think I'm the best host. I think there's a lot to learn. But it's never really something that I saw myself doing. But at the time when the actual first recording took place, between deciding to do it and actually doing it, there were some things that happened in my personal life, and this show became the place where I needed to put my energy, the place where I needed to escape from things that were going on in real life. And at that time, it was so important for me to talk to someone about something, to forget about the things that were going on. And so often the people that were on the other end of the Skype line had no idea. We were just talking about football, and I was learning so much, and I got lost in the conversations, and I would get lost in the edit, and I would get lost writing the show notes and doing the artwork and doing all of those things. And it was so helpful and beneficial for me to put my efforts somewhere. And I think since then things have changed. Things in my personal life have changed. Things have changed with the team. I mean, the team is actually enjoyable to watch these days, which is nice. And I just want to say to all of you who have listened, to all of you who have been guests, thank you for being around. Thank you for sticking around. And I hope that you still enjoy the show. Every week the show goes out. Every week the show has mistakes. The show has things I wish that went better. And this show is no different. I listen back to it as I'm editing, and I go like, why did I say that? I can't believe I did that. Why didn't I ask this question? But at the end of the day, this is about having a conversation. It's about the friendships that I've made and the connections that I've made. and it's about us supporting the same team and supporting each other. And I can't thank you all enough for supporting the show. So I know we're not supposed to get like that, and it's not, I didn't mean for this to be like this, but this is how it is, and this is me being honest, and I just want to say thank you. We will be back to normal next week. So if you've never listened to the show before, you're like, what is this guy going on about? Just stop here, come back next week when we talk about the Wolves match, and it'll be a little bit more probably what you are used to. But this week I spoke with Dan James, and Dan had his own kind of streak going. We've been going 200 straight weeks. Dan had 259 straight competitive Saints FC matches. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite moments from our respective streaks. Talk about some of the ways that it was difficult, some of the dumber things we've done. We'll answer some listener questions, and then we will wrap it up. So it is a little bit of a longer episode. I apologize. I did cut it down quite a bit as well. But once again, bad hosting, poor editing, long show. So here you go. Thank you so much. Thank you again to Dan. If you want to follow him on Twitter, Instagram, it's at the Dan James, and all of the links are in the show notes. And I'll talk to you on the other side. And thank you once again for listening. I really do appreciate it. I'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Dan James. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram. I believe they're both at the Dan James. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You're back. It's been a little while. I want to say the last time we talked was just after the Portsmouth match. Is that when we did it? Have we spoken since then?
I don't know if we have. I don't even know if it was it then?
Yeah, because we walked through the whole day, and
that's right. Yeah,
and it might have been just for the patrons, but I enjoyed that because that experience. It fell right in the middle of your streak, and obviously right in the middle of this is episode 200, but and that's 200 straight weeks. I think there's actually been 203 episodes, 204 episodes, but some of those were, whatever, they were different. But this is 200 weeks of doing this, which my wife is probably not as happy with as I am, but that's just the way it goes. But yeah, so I just think that day could not have been more different for the two of us, other than we shared some stress. But nobody was trying to throw rocks or beer bottles at me. And I got home a lot earlier than you did.
Yeah.
But how are you?
It was an interesting one. Yeah, really well. Really busy with work, which is good for me, I guess, because some people obviously aren't able to. But yeah. Just really busy at the minute. Obviously, this weekend, missing my football fix because an international break really does not do it for me.
Would you normally go see England play, or?
I mean, I've gotten to see them play every now and again, but it's not really a routine of it.
Okay.
I don't really take much interest in watching them on TV, particularly at the moment, because I think it's pretty boring.
Yeah. Well, the international matches are always on, usually during the week, during the day, and it's just like it becomes really hard to watch any more than 20 or 30 minutes of it because of work and the time difference. But I mean, even the United States played in Wales the other day, and it was other than they were playing Wales.
No, wasn't it?
I didn't care. Was that? Yeah. But I think we looked okay. I didn't like I said, I watched about 20 minutes. And it's always the nice thing about that is whenever they play in Europe, we tend to see a lot of our players that are playing in Europe that kind of have dual citizenship or whatever that are going to get in the team versus when we play, Jamaica, it's like we wind up getting everybody who's playing over here in MLS or whatever. But MLS is off right now, so those guys aren't fit anyway. I'm not going to claim to have as much of a grasp on the U.S. men's national team as maybe I should. But, I'll be happy if we make the World Cup and disappointed if we don't. And I guess we should say congratulations to Scotland for getting through to the Euros, the first major tournament in I just know a long time. So Kevin McGee, one of the listeners, congratulations. Congratulations to Stuart Armstrong. Now they got to play England at some point, so I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yep. England at Wembley, I believe.
Yeah, so that should be good and nasty. I don't know. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But we're not going to talk about that today. It is an international break, but I wanted to talk to you, get you back on the show because early on in the podcast kind of journey, you came on the show, and then I met you in person between like you, Freddie, and maybe like, 4 other people, including your brother. I met you guys in person at the, I forget the name of the bar.
I can't remember the name.
I can see it. I can see the picture.
It was really old. It wasn't like really old, but it was like an old school type pub bar thing.
Yeah. I have so many pictures of the sign, but I figured that's what when I think of pubs in England, that's what I think of. But I think as soon as you walk to the other side of the bridge in London, everything changes. But that was a cool place. I appreciate you waiting for us there, given the result of that day did not go well. But the beer was good and the company was better. So thanks for making that trip.
That was a good one.
But one of the things that people, if they've been kind of following the show for a long time and they have heard episodes with you on before, you had this streak going. And do you remember how many matches it's been since how many straight matches it was until COVID kind of put a stop to it?
It was 259, so it wasn't even a round number, so quite stressful.
No, you just have that.
Yeah, 259 games.
Yeah, 259 straight games, straight competitive matches.
Yeah.
Away, that means Europe, that means Swansea, that means Newcastle, Sunderland, everything.
Sunderland several times.
Yeah. I mean, so I wanted to give you on it to talk about that a little bit, because I think if we talk about memorable moments, I think you and I can both relate. And I'm sure at some point something will put an end to me putting out an episode every week. And that's just the way it's going to go. And hopefully it's my choice to do that. But it's probably more likely that it's going to be something else is going to force the issue, much like yours. I'm sure if you could end it at some point, you would make that decision for whatever it is. But unfortunately, something kind of did that. And then there are some other news bits that we should probably cover. So let's do that first, if you don't mind. And then we'll get into the streaks and all the other things and what life's been like since the streak has ended. Or I don't know. We'll talk about it if you think it's ended or not. But I should say to everybody, and I said it in the intro, but thank you to everybody who's listened. If you're just brand new, welcome. Hopefully this doesn't suck. So here we go. I mean, the first thing that off the top of my head that happened this week is Ralph didn't get manager of the month. So just kind of like, the team with like the 17th highest club value in the league. So this is pretty low in terms of that, gets a team who lost their top goal scorer to the top of the table for the first time, in the top 4 at this point, linked with all kinds of jobs outside of us, which is just what happens. And then it goes to Nuno Espirito Santo, that I don't have anything against him at all. But I've kind of not watched Wolves this year because I don't think they're that fun to watch. They're sitting in 9th place. They've got 3 wins in their last 5, including and then a draw and a loss. But like, they have not been fun to watch. Raul Jimenez has been a huge fantasy disappointment. Other than watching them oil up Adama Traore, I don't think there's really much going on.
I had a text message through saying that Espirito Santo had won it, and I thought it was actually a joke. Like, I thought they were taking the mick. I thought Ralph was absolutely nailed on for that award, for all the plaudits that he's been getting, but also purely for the fact that he deserves it. If you look at what our team was even a few months ago, even like just after COVID or just before COVID, the belief in that team now and the way they're playing is absolutely exceptional.
Yeah.
And although it's down to them working hard together, it's going to be down to his hard work. So yeah, bit of a joke. I have watched a little bit of Wolves. I nearly fell asleep watching. I can't remember what game it was. They did win, but like they almost sit back and then just try and do that counter attack with Traore or Jimenez. I've not been entirely impressed. I've been impressed by Wolves over the past few years, but not particularly this season. Like they've been a grind out result sort of thing. I don't think it's warranted winning man of the month personally. But
I was
the game of opinions.
Yeah, I guess, but I was super surprised he was even in the running. Like I hadn't seen him do that much, and
ridiculous.
Yeah,
no.
So that's frustrating. I mean, it would have been really nice to come on here and talk about it.
When you think back to it as well, yeah. Obviously, Villa have been doing quite well. We beat them, but they had that 7-2 win. They were unbeaten. Were they unbeaten before they played us?
I think so. Yeah, because the only two they've lost. They lost to us, and then lost the one right after.
Yeah. So in terms of that, like Dean Smith was in with a shout. Pains me to say it, but Mourinho's doing a good job at Tottenham. But yeah, Espirito Santo would definitely not be on my list.
No.
Even be in the shortlist. But it's happened.
Yeah.
And there's no curse of the manager of the month. So
yeah, we'll be fine with that. I should correct myself. They lost to Leeds and then to us, not to us, then Leeds.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway, but still, I mean, I don't know. I thought Ralph I thought it was nailed on, guaranteed. But that's okay. We'll move on, and we know how good we have it, and I think we'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody else. I mean, I think other people will be surprised as well, because even listening to the guys who do the Stadio podcast, they were talking. Ian Wright does the new show with them called Wrighty's House, and Carl Anker was on there, and they were talking about Hassan Hudl for like 20 minutes, and it's like, like if you could stop, because we all know that Hassan Hudl has been linked with Carl Anker's United, and he keeps telling everybody that to leave him alone and leave him at Southampton. He doesn't want to see him go up there, but I think if he did go up there, he would be totally happy with it, because his team would get better. But he doesn't want to do us like that, which I appreciate about Carl. So that sucks. But JWP out of the England squad as a precaution, kind of a little bit of an injury. And I guess just this kind of bleeds into the 5 sub rule that I guess we voted for. Does it make sense to you to bring back 5 subs, given the increased number of muscle injuries and things like that seem to be happening to players? Or do you think it won't really matter to us because our squad maybe doesn't have the depth, and Ralph really doesn't make that many subs anyway?
Yeah, like from our point of view, like we don't really make that many subs anyway. And if we do, they're quite late. There was quite an interesting one because Guardiola, I can't remember, again, the game's just moulding sort of into one and such. But Guardiola complained about the lack of 5 subs after a game where he only made 1 substitution. Thank you, 3 first bet. Yeah, I think like the injuries and stuff also comes to, it was a really quick turnaround from the end of last season to the start of this. I mean, there could be reason why there's more injuries. It could just be coincidence. But the 5 sub thing, obviously they do it in the European games. We don't do it in ours. I don't think they change it halfway through a season. So
yeah, because it
favors the bigger clubs.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think for us, we're only playing 1 game a week right now. We're out of the EFL Cup. We didn't have to go deep with that competition. The FA Cup doesn't start until I think into the spring. So we're not going to come up into the more than 1 game a week for a while. I think we might have one in November with it's either November or early December with Arsenal.
There'll be a midweek.
And then, I mean, then it gets busy for everybody. But I guess I could understand the lack of preparation, because it seemed like we had that long break. Everybody stayed strong. Then we came back and played a bunch of games, and then it really just felt like it felt like 2 weeks off, and then everybody was back, and everybody kind of went from playing to vacation to playing again. And I think that could have something to do with it, but also every club has these. They're monitoring every aspect of these guys' bodies constantly, and so you should. You can tell when guys are close, and then you have to just, I think, adjust. And it sucks because, we tend to run out the same 11 guys every week. And at some point we're just not gonna be able to do that. Like Obafemi's going to have to play. Somebody's going to have to play for Ward-Prowse at some point, because he's just going to overdo it. And that we don't want him to get injured. But, then you look at guys like teams like Liverpool, where they just lost, half of their, or more than half of their back 4 all at once, which, that's good. I think
that's more unlike that's more bad luck than
just too many games.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, I mean, when we lose Ings, but that wasn't down to overwork. That was just his foot got caught in the turf, and whoever we were beating at that point was just acting like punks. I think that was the Villa game, right?
It was Villa game, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was so pissed after that game for a multitude of reasons. But anyway, and then we should mention the FA chairman. We have to mention his name. He's no longer the FA chairman for just things he.
That's all needs to be said on his part.
Yeah, just completely kind of unacceptable.
It's scary that someone who could speak like that was still in charge at the time he was in charge.
Yeah, because I understand people coming from a different generation, speaking a different way. I have family that live in other parts of the country who still use language that I would never use living where I live and being of the age I am. But they're not president. They're not in charge of anything. They're just kind of normal. They live on a farm. They live their life. They are dated in terms of their language and their views on certain things. And I still love them. But if you're somebody that's in charge of an organization or an association like this that is supposed to be kind of leading things and putting these agendas forward, and that's the language that just kind of shows up when you're speaking off the cuff, like that just shows you that a lot of it is just it's for the cameras and for the media, and then this is, must be what he's really like, and that's not the person you want, I don't think, being in charge of anything.
No, absolutely not. And hopefully they pick the right person to succeed him.
Yeah. And for the record, I also like spreadsheets, and I don't like the ball being kicked hard at me either. Just and I don't fall into any of the categories that he was talking about. But I say this podcast is a lifestyle choice. Certain other things are not. But enough of that. But let's get on to the reason that we're here. So 259 straight matches when it stopped. Do you remember the first one? Do you remember who it was and where it was? And
so the first one, I did have to do a little bit of research just to spring my mind. But the first one was a 2-1 victory over QPR at home. It was when Charlie Austin was playing for QPR at the time, had an overhead kick competition with Pella. And Pella came out on top with the winning goal with a pretty special overhead kick. So that was the one that kicked off the streak.
All right.
Yeah, not a bad one.
No. I mean, so that team there had Pella in it, Tadic?
Yep. I believe it was Koeman in charge.
Okay.
Pella, Tadic, Wanyama, Schneiderlin, Klein would have been there at the time as well, I believe. Bertrand's first season. So that was the season when we sort of had the mass exodus of players after Pochettino left, and then Koeman had his little rebuild.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when Pella started finding the net.
Good times.
Very good times.
A little stressful, I think, at the beginning, given Pochettino's exit.
I remember the first game of the season at Liverpool, and we had quite a few debuts on that day, and it was a completely new look team from the season before, as such. But it was a good season in the end.
Yeah. So I mean, I was watching the team. I watched the team under Pochettino, and then this was the first season that I actually kind of was like, that's my team. I'm here for this now, and I'm going to be here for this the entire time. So it was a lot about learning and just, watching it. And then, as players began to leave, you kind of go like, well, am I not allowed to be attached to these guys? I just have to assume they're going to take off after a certain amount of time. Because like my favorite baseball team, my favorite player, Craig Biggio, he stayed with the team the entire time. Like he played with one club, and not everybody does that. But I saw so many players stay for 10 years and then retire with the team that I loved, that to come over to a sport that it was completely foreign and watch people just jump ship was like, wow, what is happening? So it definitely took some time. But yeah, it's good times. So we're going to take a little bit of a walk down memory lane, I guess, just to kind of see how things are going. For you, I will say, I guess the first match that I covered on this show, episode 1, with Aidan Small, then of Fresh Saints, now working at Arsenal, was a match against Norwich, where I pronounced it Norwich until somebody corrected me several weeks later. But I think we gave up a late equalizer again, and it had just been a kind of consistent thing. And coming into it, it was like, I wrote in the show notes, like, come listen to me try to keep up with somebody who actually knows about football, because I had no I was completely out of my league, but I wanted to do the show, and there was no podcast at that point that anybody else was doing, so I was giving it a shot. And if you listen since then, I owe you something, because that was pretty bad. But anyway, so for you, I mean, do you have a match that stands out as being super special to you in that time? I mean, there have to be several, but what are they?
So yeah, you obviously sent me some of this across before, so I've had a little think. There are a few that stand out. There was that same season, the Sunderland 8-0 win at home. That was pretty special. The goals just kept going in; it just didn't stop. It was like, wow. You've also got the Mane hat trick when we beat Villa. I think Shane Long scored his long-range goal in that one as well, so that was a nice little roast. But yeah, the Mane hat trick. There was the comeback against Liverpool at home, from 2-0 down at half-time to 3-2. St Mary's was rocking that day. That was pretty special. There was the Liverpool win when we won away at Anfield in the last minute to seal the cup final. And then I guess another memorable one for like a different reason. This is when the streak was just like, I wouldn't say dragging on, but some games I was going just to keep the numbers going. Was Newcastle away last season. It was moved because they moved Newcastle's game in the week to a Thursday night to a Sunday, and the game wasn't on TV, and that was the night of my work Christmas party. So I was like, wow, I have to pick between watching Saints and one of literally like the biggest work event of the year, the Christmas party. I was like, wow, this is a headache. So I ended up, this is when people call me crazy, I ended up getting a train up to Newcastle at 6 o'clock that morning. Went to the game, flew back from Newcastle to Bristol. My dad picked me up from Bristol, had my Christmas party outfit and everything in the car. We stopped at a service station on the way home, or on the way back to Southampton from Bristol. I got changed and he dropped me straight to the Christmas party. And I was only an hour and a half late, but nothing had really started. So I think people were still arriving after me. So I think that was one of the most memorable ones for not football reasons. Yeah, that was when things were a bit crazy.
That's insane.
It is. When I look back on it, I'm like, wow, what an idiot.
But I mean,
we lost that game as well.
The trips to Newcastle have not been great since I've been doing the show.
Yeah.
Period. So yeah, but my goodness, I can't fault you. And you did say, and I guess it's a good time to talk about it, is, you know, you were at that point, you were kind of going to keep the streak going, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times has it felt like that? Have there been like a couple of instances in there where there's been a run of 4 or 5 weeks where you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this? Or was it just that kind of one run?
That one stands out as but you know, the trips to Sunderland, particularly under Pellegrino, some of the games there, you're just like, what am I doing? But yeah, it was good.
Because I mean, fun. If you're watching good football, then and you're losing.
If you're watching good football, you don't mind. But
you weren't.
Some of that.
You weren't. You were seeing some absolute garbage. So I mean, would you put some of those up there under least enjoyable, or was there a match in there that you really just hated? Because I can say that some of the matches that I like covering the most, the Swansea match when Gabbiadini scored, that because of when it happened and the atrocious timing at school, given testing schedules and what I was supposed to be doing that day, and how distracted I was, and the fact that I had 100 kids taking an exam on a computer, and I punched the table and like said some things when the goal went in, and was like almost in tears because it meant we were going to stay up, and then immediately went back to my office and recorded a podcast like while I was still supposed to be working. Like that was a great day. But I mean, there were also times in there where I was just like, I can't believe I got to talk about this again. Like, how many times can I say we let in a late goal? We're just,
I think, did we cover when we lost to Fulham? Did we? I think I was on for one of those episodes.
Yeah, I'm probably. I mean,
I think possibly, but that was unenjoyable. But I like you said, I try and block out the unenjoyable ones. There's the match that the British TV broadcasters, I don't know if it's the same over there, the British TV broadcasters love talking about a match from last season that I'm not going to discuss. That wasn't enjoyable, but the one that really stands out for me was one of the European games when we got knocked out by Midtjylland over in Denmark. It was an atrocious, you couldn't even say effort from the players. It was just void of anything really. It was a really unenjoyable game.
Yeah, that
and it was chucking down the rain
at school and being disappointed with the lineup, being disappointed with the effort, being pissed at everything and everyone.
And I remember that night as well. There was a man trying to sell the half and half gas after the game outside the away end, and I just said, "Are you for real?" in a few more expletive terms. But yeah, not an enjoyable one. Good trip though.
Yeah. Well, how many half and half scarves do you own?
0.
It's good. It's good answer.
None. Nil.
Same number as I do. Thank goodness. Same number of goals we scored that night against Midtjylland, I believe, as well. I'm looking at some stuff. I think we played with a back five that night, which was absolutely stupid. Unless that was them, but I think that was us. And that's not good. That's not what you want going up against those guys. But yeah, let's talk. I don't know if you're going to be able to give me one, but at least a couple that you enjoyed the most. Was it going to be one of the European trips, or is it going to be which one is what's the best memory?
So if I would pick the European trip, it would be the Vitesse Arnhem one. That just the whole experience. We won quite comfortably. The hospitality over there was unbelievable. It was just like the perfect day. I've still got my personalised bank card with a picture of the Vitesse Arnhem, of the square in Arnhem, literally a sea of red and white, beer being thrown everywhere. That probably is the one that was really good. We'll say that's the European one. You can't go much further than Pompey away for a domestic one.
Yeah. Is that the only one? Is that the only time you've ever been there?
To Portsmouth?
Yeah. Well, to the stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the only time you've ever been to Portsmouth, period?
Oh, no, I've been there plenty of times. Undercover.
Yeah. Yeah. You aren't wearing the shirt you're wearing now, I'm sure.
No. For the record, it is a red and white Saint shirt. I probably wouldn't wear that there, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, you just kind of keep your head down and probably move on. And I mean, obviously I've been to one match in person, but I've watched every single match we've played that's been at all televised. I gave one computer. I had to get a new computer in the middle of this, not in the middle of this particular recording, but at some point because I was not as wise as I should have been with my stream choices, and things got dicey. But you know, I've watched a lot of Saints play in the last 4 years, and I mean, for me, COVID hasn't changed that much. The games are still on. Now I've had a few more 4 a.m. kickoffs, but for you, this has fundamentally changed the way you view football. And I mean, what's it been like for you to have to kind of stop doing the things you were doing and now sit and watch it on TV if you can, if it's even available?
Yeah, completely alien. I remember the first game back, it was the Norwich game. Like on a day where I would be travelling up to Norwich on a normal time, I was out on my bike. Yeah, completely alien. I was out on my bike when I should have been travelling to the game. The first home game, I think I got home 5 minutes before kickoff, and then watched it. And then like the thing that's crazy now is I can be at work and just listen to it on the radio and not really be bothered. But yeah, like you said, if at all able to watch it on TV, I'll try. But the Newcastle game the other night, I was at work, so it's completely crazy.
And I mean, having been in the stadium once, that like it takes up your whole day. The anticipation's always there. The build up to the match, the just walking up to the stadium, going like all of it. And for me, maybe it's a more novel experience because it only is going to happen a couple of times in my life probably. But I still assume for you, whether it's the travel or the people you go with, that stuff all builds up into the game, and the game is just part of it, right? Like the experience is more.
For sure, it's the experience as a whole, particularly with the away games, like traveling up with people, seeing the same people, seeing similar faces. Like some of the people I've met, I'm friends with people who I wouldn't have otherwise met through going to games. Like I would say, I would go as far as to say I miss the people more than the football, and the experience, like the day, more than the football. Obviously the football is pretty good at the minute, so it's a big shame that we're not able to see that. Like if we could have been at St Mary's last Friday night, wow, that would have been something pretty special. But then again, if we were at St Mary's, the players would probably all be under pressure and crumble.
Yeah, I mean, there is something weird about the fact that we seem to be playing better when nobody's there, and you know it kind of sucks because for you, for me, for a lot of people that are there that are going to be the generation that are going to continue to go to games from now and you know into their later years, this is the first time that's ever happened. You know, like this is the first time that Saints have ever been top of the top division table in their lives. And last time it happened, I didn't even know what football or soccer was. And I don't think you were alive. So, you know,
I was not alive.
So, I mean, but I think that's one of the things that I think we kind of got to remember is that for people that sit and watch it on TV like me, like nothing's changed. The fake crowd noise is a little bit much, but like
really irritating.
The fact that I can hear Ralph yell the whole time I think is great. Like that's my favorite part. That's
one thing that I find really cool.
Yeah. That's if there's a positive there, that's it. I was trying to put some down here for you. What are some things? The beer has to be cheaper. Drinking at home.
Yeah, and I can drink while I'm watching the game as well. At the ground, you can't drink in the stands, so that's a big positive.
Yeah, you might drink more as a result, but
can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, that's fair enough. And maybe like you understand what's going on with VAR, like in the moment, because watching on TV they constantly tell you what's going on with versus in the stadium. Sometimes I think maybe
you'd literally be there and then it would suddenly pop up on the screen VAR review and you're like, what? But like a really good point out for that was, I believe it was the last game before COVID, was the Gineppo red card. Didn't have a clue it even happened, and then it pops up on the screen, boom, red card. Whereas I guess if you were watching that on TV, there'd straight away be replay of that incident.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Before they had even gone, they're like, they're gonna have a look at that, and it's like, what? And then like, you know, they're showing you like every angle possible, and I remember being upset, but at least I know what's going on. It's not, and once again, it's not fair. And
that was one thing, like in the stadium, you didn't have a clue until it went VAR review, and everyone's like, what?
Because I'm sure there are times when you're not even sure what incident they're looking at, right? Like it says VAR review, and like maybe like it's a very clear bad tackle, or you know, an offside because they scored a goal, so you know they're going to look at the offside or whatever. But sometimes it's probably just like there's so much that just happened. What are they looking at? How are we even supposed to tell? But I'm also sure you would give all of that up to be back in the stadium, right?
I'd love to be back in the stadium.
Let's continue to go through some of these things, and I'll try to like point these out, and then we'll get to some listener questions as well. So, I mean, can you give me your favorite player to watch since the streak started?
So I'm going to pick out one. There's like quite a few that you could pick. Like you could mention names. Ings is a special player. Tadic could get an honourable mention, but I think even now, and I'm so glad he's come good, is Ward-Prowse. It was so frustrating for a number of years. You could see he was trying, particularly when he was captain of the England under-21 team. He had a role in that team and he always delivered, but then obviously different managers, different positions, never really had a run in the team. When he did have a run in the team, he was with a different midfielder each time, so that was a real sort of struggle for him to settle. But I think obviously since Ralph's come in and obviously wasn't even included in one of his first squads, to see where he's come from to now, and I'm so glad he's come good. So yeah, I'd pick Ward-Prowse out as my favourite player in that time.
As I said, I was too quick to fall in love with some of the players. So those early years, Pella, Tadic, Mane, even though he was somewhat frustrating, Stephen Davis was not frustrating. He just had to at some point leave. But I think Tadic sits right here on my next to my computer. Some of the other guys, Cedric, I've covered up with some wires. Mark Hughes is so far off to the distance. I can't see him. He's on the other side of the bookshelf. Nathan Redmond's up here still, but I think he's the only player that's still at the club. Well, Forster's back, but Tadic is like one of my favorites, and I still will watch the Champions League when Ajax are playing. And I was sad when he left, but I think he's probably one of my favorite players ever. I mean,
I think it was right. I think it was right for both parties at the time. Maybe the fee wasn't quite what we'd expect, but I think it was a natural conclusion. I think if it dragged on anymore, we might have not had such a gracious end. And I from what I've seen in interviews and that, he still speaks really highly of the club.
Yeah.
So that's what you want him to do.
I do wish he would not have taken penalties for us, but that's okay.
Yeah, we don't take it sometimes.
Which player's
Burnley
most
away
disappointing?
sticks out for me. We can talk about disappointing signings all evening.
Yeah.
In terms of signings,
I guess which one do you think that you were excited about when they brought in that just never delivered on the pitch?
Jordy Classy never really lived up to his name. He was sort of stuck around for a while and went out on loan and that, but he never really. We saw like tiny glimpses. So Classy was like a one. I don't want to put him in there, Boufal, because he did so many special things. But again, for someone who had so much talent, he would never consistently deliver. But I'm not going to put him in there. That's unfair because of the things he's done. Too many disappointing names to go through, but I think in terms of living up to when we signed him at the time, Classy just never really settled. I think he could have been a lot better than he was.
Yeah. I think for me, I had a name, and I'm not sure I want to give it now. Yeah, I think Lamina for me there was so much promise.
That's a good shout, yeah.
You look at where he came from, everything he was supposed to do, and then it was just like, that's it. And the fact that he was the one who gave the ball away at West Ham that day where they scored from our corner because he gave the ball away at the top of the box. I was just like, I hate you. Like, why are you doing this to me? But like, that's going to be mine. But I think Classy's
probably a pretty solid shout.
A good one too, because it's like he was supposed to be so good. Like he was in, and then I remember even watching him on some of like the YouTube streams when they were playing preseason, and it was just like, well, that's okay. Like, but he just never did it, and it was disappointing. This list could be long too, but the player you hated to see leave.
So I've narrowed it down to 3. The list could go on. The 2 more recent ones, Yoshida. I just love that man. That was a tough one to see leave. Obviously, Stephen Davis. Again, both really good servants. Like, not I mean, they were both like good players, but they weren't the best type thing. But they gave their all. They both stood up when they needed to. But the one that sort of stands out for me is Schneiderlin. Sort of tried to push for his move, did push for his move, got his move to Man United, ended up at Everton. Back in France now, I just feel like his career's not been what it could have been.
Right.
I mean, he was pretty good that man. That football.
Yeah.
Like, considering where he started from League One, and he just got better and better as we went up the leagues. Yeah, a career not fulfilled to what it could have been.
I think that's a really good one. And watching Yoshida leave hurt because he went, like you said, when I first started watching, he was guaranteed to cost us a goal every time he was in the team.
Yeah.
It seemed like, bad back pass, bad giveaway, poor touch, not a clearance, anything. And then I just remember one time he was playing right back and he just played a through ball to their winger. I was like, what are you doing? I just remember throwing stuff. And I wasn't even doing the podcast at the time, I don't think. And I just remember just going this team is going to ruin every weekend I have from now until the end of time. But when he left, that did hurt because he took on a leadership role that was so important when there was a void there. And it's tough to do that if you're not just the standout kind of player, because he's probably is still having to earn his spot in the team every week at that point, but still also giving guidance, which I think he did really well. But for me, it's Font because I didn't give him enough credit for so long. I thought it was the people who played next to him that covered him. And then as he left, it became clear that no, he's the guy that's holding it all together back there.
He's the one who made everyone else look really good.
Yeah. And it made me so mad when you go back and look that he was with the club for so many years. And then we got to Europe and rested him. And if I'm him at that point, I'm pissed too. I can't be mad at him, but I wanted him to stay. I was really disappointed. And that's early episodes as I'm going back reading through show notes and stuff. You can kind of see that's what's on my mind at that point because I like that guy. This list though might not be as long, and I'll go first. The player that I was happiest to see leave, honestly, is probably just Charlie Austin. Just get out of here. But once guys like Wesley Hoot leave, that probably
he's on my list. He's sort of gone but not gone.
Yeah. I mean, Carisha's gone now, right? We cut his contract.
Yeah, that's who I put.
Okay.
What an absolute joke of a recruitment process, a signing. I mein, when he did play, he looked like he won a competition, to be honest.
Made Ali Dia look good, man.
he was just not good. But yeah, it's not his fault that he was signed. But yeah, he just wasn't good enough, and I'm glad he's gone. So,
yeah,
because he was on hefty wages as well, I believe.
Yeah. And I mean, and for me, for the reason it's Austin is his relationship with the fans deteriorated so quickly. And he just would go on the radio and say things, and it's like, hey, if you just were quiet, it'd probably be fine. If you just, I think, like you said, keep your mouth shut when you need to. But then again, some of the abuse he got, can you blame him for arguing back? But obviously, if you're in that position, you probably shouldn't be doing it the way he did it. Yeah.
And there was definitely times when he did do things just to wind people up.
Yeah. I mean, he also gave us the VAR. I mean, it was just the anniversary of it a couple of days or weeks ago. That was great.
That was a beautiful bit of interview.
I think at one point I asked somebody, I think it was Glastonbury. Somebody had just come back from Glastonbury and we were talking about it. And it's which Saints player would you take to Glastonbury? And it was like Charlie Austin, without a doubt. He'd be a blast. But then I don't want him around my family, probably. It's just not going to go well.
I wouldn't.
But so let's go on and let's take some listener questions. We have a couple that deal with the squad. So I guess let's tackle those first, and we'll go back to nostalgia moments after that. This one comes from Andy Dean, came in via email, and people can send in questions via email. There's a contact form on the website. You can get in touch on Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want. I'll be honest, I don't check the Facebook messages as often as I check everything else. I don't understand it, which I never thought I'd say about a social media platform, but it is the one I like the least. So, but I'll still get to them. Just might not be this week. So his question about Nathan Redmond talks a little bit about the fact that so many players have developed under Ralph and gotten so much better. And I mean, he's gotten a lot out of a squad that doesn't have, a ton of big names. Yes, Danny Ings has been scoring goals, but Che Adams has developed. Ward Prowse has come into his own. Kyle Walker-Peters has gotten a lot better. Bertrand's come back. So we can go on about the players who have gotten a lot better. But his kind of thing with Nathan Redmond is that maybe he hasn't. And I did some numbers, and Redmond's numbers in terms of goals scored and things like that, which is not, I guess it shouldn't be the ultimate determining factor of how good a player is, but they're just not that good. Not under previous managers, not under Ralph. But I'll just give them to you really quickly. Matches before Ralph, 116 goals in those matches, 9. That's all competitions. Assists, 6. So not a great ratio, not a great return. Under Ralph, 66 matches, 14 goals, 10 assists, but he hasn't scored since Norwich game week 30 of last season. Been out of the team, and then so I guess. Can you think of a reason why Redmond's been struggling to improve, or why he hasn't? And then do you think this competition with Gineppo and Walcott is going to help him improve, or do you think it's going to actually just he's going to, I don't know, pack it in at some point?
When Ralph first came in, he looked like a different player. But then he sort of now almost slips back into old ways. I think one of the most frustrating things with Redmond is he is really good when he's direct, goes at players, but he just doesn't seem to do it as much as he should. I think it's unfair to say that he hasn't improved, because I would have said that he has. But yeah, I think it was getting to a point where he was just not doing anything, but then Ralph came in and sort of reignited him. The competition piece, I think now Walcott's come in, there is definitely more competition. That's no disrespect to Gineppo, he is a talent, but with his injury sort of track record so far, it's like Redmond will almost be straight back into the team as soon as he's injured type thing. So it doesn't really matter. But I think with Walcott coming in, not only do you get competition, but you get someone with bags of experience who can pass on advice to both of those players. So I think there's still more to come from Redmond. So hopefully we will see more.
Yeah, I would like him to kick on. I mean, he is one of the guys that I enjoy watching, and I want him to be successful, obviously, because he's part of the team. His contract runs through June 30th of 2023, but I kind of have the feeling like if things go the way they are, if he continues to stagnate, he might be one of the players that we see leave. And it would be kind of a shock if he left in the summer, but I can almost see it happening, because if he gets displaced by Gineppo and Walcott, he might just say, okay, time to move on and find something new. And I wouldn't be hurt by it, but I would be disappointed because I want to see him be successful. But I'm not saying that because I know anything. I don't know anything. I'm just saying that.
And it came out the other day, obviously, Elliot Noose is doing quite well at Celtic. Obviously, he's there on loan for the second season. Ralph's not ruled out a possibility of him being available for selections. So that's another potential competitor. So like you said, if someone comes into Redmond and it's at the right price, do we bite the bullet and call it quits type thing? But I think he is one that we still need to try and persevere with, because there is something there. It's just unlocking it. I think he is the big confidence player.
Yeah. That season that he came in and had kind of his best season at the club, he had been away in America for the summer, down at UCLA training, came back, like he said, full of confidence, and the confidence was there, and he played with confidence, and he was more direct. And he did go through a couple of changes in terms of people playing him in different positions, sometimes as a second striker, sometimes as out on the wing. And I think, maybe, I don't know exactly who said it, but almost like trying to, turn him into almost like a Raheem Sterling type player. And Pep grabbed him that one time I think it was under Pellegrino, and kind of pulled him to the side. Everybody was like, "Oh, what's happening?" But that was one of those things where we wanted him to do that, and I still do, but it just hasn't gone yet. And like I said, we'll see. Kind of leading into that a little bit, Kevin McGee, one of the patrons of the show, says the club has made some big sales over the years. Van Dijk being the most expensive. Who out of the current team would or could potentially be the next big sale?
I mean, you have to say Ings is up there. Hot property, proven Premier League goal scorer, back in form. Ward-Prowse. I think if every player, if the right price is in, every player will go. Like, you know what I mean? I've always thought Jan Bednarek, he's signed for us to be a step. He's sort of stagnated a bit recently, but another player bought fairly cheaply who could go for more than what we paid. I wouldn't like to see any of them go, to be honest. In that sort of sense, Ginetto, he carries on. That is our model, isn't it? As such, buy relatively cheap and sell for big.
I want to say, I think players that are in the squad that have the potential. We haven't seen Salisu play yet, but everything that I've heard, talking to people who watched him play, he's got all the physical attributes. It's just, can he develop the football side of it to get there? But I think somebody will go for big money before he's even ready. He hasn't even been in the team yet, so I can't say him. But I look down the squad. I think Ward-Prowse has a real chance to be that. I think the only thing that would limit Ings is the injury. The fact that he got injured right now may push people off of him again. If he didn't, I think we'd see that. But also, we'll have to wait and see what happens with his contract negotiations. I think there are several there, and I think other players will go. If somebody like Armstrong leaves, that'll hurt. But I think some of these young guys that are getting into the team now or coming in, I think they all maybe I just am more positive now about those guys because we seem to be on the up and they're coming in. So maybe I think they're going to be a little better, but fare a little bit better. Kevin also said he thinks one of his favorite episodes was the Portsmouth one, and that's the one you were on. And that was a lot of fun just because it was. I also did like almost like a vlog for that day for the patrons, just because I had to turn everything off on my phone because I was in a meeting that I couldn't get out of. And I literally ran down the street. I didn't even go through campus afterwards. I ran down the street because I realized fewer people would try to talk to me to get home to watch the game. And I mean, that whole day was I was nervous, and there was no reason for me to be nervous. I'm like, the
nerves were there when they didn't need to be.
And then the start to that game too. I mean, they hit the post. I was just like, what are we doing? We cannot lose this game. And then in the end, it was pretty comfortable, but still, they were angry. And I think my favorite is the videos of their fans just going like, "This is over, we're leaving." And I was like, "That's right. you waited for this."
That was a kind way of putting it.
Yeah. I think we talked about favorite and favorite player. We did those things. Let's see. Tim sent in a couple of questions here. Tim Bizantz, you can hear from him on the In That Number podcast most weeks. Also one of the patrons of the show. How much hair have I lost over the stress of being a Saints fan the last 4 years? My hair's been going since high school, so I haven't lost it. It is more gray. My beard's got a lot of gray in it now, and that's a lot due to this. Favorite game we did talk about. Most memorable episode. I think in terms of episodes, it has to be the EFL Cup final, probably. One, because it's one of the only matches I've ever gotten to watch with other people. Usually matches kick off at 7 a.m. There's no bar that's open. There's nowhere to go. It's watch by yourself. But it seems like the matches where I wasn't at home, where something was different, either turn out to be my favorite or my least favorite. Simply because that Liverpool comeback win, I was in a hotel room and I contemplated packing up and driving home at halftime, and then I was delayed because somebody brought breakfast burritos, and so I had to stay. And then I wound up just trashing the room again because I was so excited, just with my own stuff, just like celebrating, not like anything crazy. I didn't like punch holes in the wall or anything, but that's there. And then Tim also asked that I assume this is directed at you because your name is Dan James, and he says, "What's it like having the exact same name as a United player? Does anybody make jokes about it?"
I make jokes about it myself. We were linked with him once, and as we were saying before we started recording, I don't get names on the back of shirts, but I might have had to have got my name on the back of the shirt. Yeah, I get jokes about it quite a lot. One of my mates who we come to football with, he sent me some tickets once. Dan James, not the Man United player, and then my address. That was quite funny. But yeah, I was hoping he'd do a bit better at United, to be honest. I haven't done it for a little while actually, but if it comes up on my Twitter and they go, "Oh, Dan James is an idiot," I'll respond and say there's no need for that. But yeah, if he was a better player, I'd be a lot more pleased about it, to be honest.
Right.
But I think, I mean, I wouldn't be against having him down here, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, more competition for Redmond, right?
For sure, and a chance to get a player name on the shirt. Yeah, I get jokes about it.
Yeah, if he were to happen to be down here, I hope you would get a picture with him. And
I want to be in the signing video.
Yeah, but yeah, you better. And we'll have to. You know what you got to do is you got to see. Do you want the Twitter handle the Dan James? Because you got to take it from me because I have it.
I remember for the Man City Cup game last year, we went up during the day to Manchester. We did a tour of Old Trafford, and I got my picture with his shirt, and I said, "This is the official unveiling of Dan James at Man United."
The In That Number guys, to stay with the In That Number theme, said, "Wow, 200 episodes of pure joy. Thank you." So thanks to them. They said, "How do you stay motivated? What's been the hardest and easiest podcast to record?" So for you, I mean, what pushed you through some of those things during the streak? Those teams when you had to choose between Christmas Party and was it Sunderland or Newcastle? What did you use to stay motivated? What was the thing that's pushing you through?
I definitely think that question was more aimed at you. So nice little deflect. Nice little deflect away. I don't know. I always enjoyed the travelling, seeing the people, and yeah, even though there was part of me that like you say those games that didn't want to go. Part of me still really wanted to go, and I didn't want to miss out. Yeah, it's just you can't fully describe it, but there is a certain buzz that you get at a football match, even if it's not going well. Even like at the start, even before it's even started, there's a certain buzz that you can't match with anything else as such. So it was almost an addiction, more than a motivation.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think the motivation, I mean, I think I told you beforehand, I'm pretty good at doing the same thing a lot. And once I get it in my head, I'm pretty obsessive. I've done things for a year at a time where I just decided I'm going to do something for a year kind of arbitrarily, but I refuse to kind of stop. And I didn't say, initially I said I'm going to do this show from January to the end of the season and we'll see how it goes. And then it was, well, let's go through the season. Let's go a year. Let's see how it goes. And then from there, it's just kind of at this point, I've changed a lot of things. I don't, I think they also asked me how many hours I spent editing. I mean, it's been a lot, but I've gotten it down now where I don't do as much of the stuff that I used to. I don't necessarily have to make a social media post or promote the show every day. And, we're going to be done here in a few minutes, and I'm not going to touch it till tomorrow morning when I'm the only one awake. And then my goal is to kind of get it done before anybody else is awake. And then I'll wait till Monday night. I'll sit down and and do the intro just in case something ridiculous happens, and then put it out. And if it's not perfect, I'm not going to stress. Other than one episode, Christian Candler asked if I go back and record any episode again, which one would I choose? I think there's two of them there. One, I put the intro, I recorded an intro that I didn't like, and so I slid it out of the way in Audition, and then I recorded the one I liked, and then I just exported it like that. So all of a sudden there was this crappy intro over the top of an actual interview, which is not what I wanted. And I woke up to a bunch of messages going like, "What's wrong with your show? Your show sucks." And it's like, well, yeah, well, let me fix it. So I would go back and just fix that mistake, but mistakes happen. But if I could go back and do it again, I got to talk to Anthony Amy. I got the interview on really short notice. And I literally said, and I don't think I've admitted this out loud, to the person who got it, like, I didn't know Anthony Amy was a Southampton fan. And they said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, Anthony Amy's a NHL goalkeeper. Had no idea he was a Southampton fan." And they said, "No, Anthony Amy was our goalkeeper." And then, like, "I can't believe I just got him to do an interview with you and you don't know who he is." And it's just like, oh no. So last minute research.
Anthony Amy wanted me to have white hair when I was however many years old at school.
I enjoyed that interview so much, but I wish I would have had a little bit more context in understanding. And then also one time I didn't tell somebody of the time difference, and I agreed to do an interview or an episode or record it. They didn't realize where I lived, and I got up and did an episode at 1 a.m. My time, which it sounds like it. So, and that person was like, "You got to learn to like say stuff to people and like you can't do this to yourself." And so that was a good lesson from him. And so he knows who he is. And so thank you to him. But he'll probably feel bad if I give his name. But yeah, I think those are kind of some of the questions. The Total Saints podcast guys reached out, said congratulations, 200. Thank you. You guys are doing great. So I hope it continues for you. You'll be there soon. And I think we kind of did it all. So I really hope that your streak is going to get, because you're at, what would we say, 259?
259.
So I'm at 200. Okay. And so there are going to be weeks where we don't have a game like this week, and I'm going to add an episode. And so I'm going to be at 250-ish, a little over 250 by next Christmas, because it's going to be essentially, I'll be at 255-ish.
Yeah.
You think I'll catch you?
For sure.
Because,
I reckon you will.
Well, mostly is when do you think you're going to be back in the stadium?
Haven't got a clue. But for me, I think that technically, because the games have now happened, even though I'm not allowed to go because they've happened, it's over.
No.
It's a reset.
No.
People keep saying no, but I think it is.
I mean, the only thing you could have done is gone down and got accredited as a journalist and tried to get in there.
Yeah.
Like aside from that, there's no other way.
No.
You could have faked playing with Saints brass and just put the trumpet up to your mouth and not done anything. Those guys were in there, but that would have been disrespectful.
Or applied to be a steward.
Yeah.
Just steward, nobody. It's a tricky one.
I mean, eventually, if you go to every match, you go to 38 matches a year, 45 matches a year. I do 52 matches or 52 weeks a year. So like I would catch you, but it would be a long time. But I don't know when we're going to be back. I don't know when you're going to be allowed back. And I'm sure some people would prefer I didn't do the show, but nobody's going to make me not do it. So anyway, so I hope I don't catch you. I hope you're back in the stadium soon and everybody's safe.
I hope you do. I think you will. Yeah.
Anyway,
you've got to aim for that nice round number of 260. If you stopped at 260, I'd be pretty annoyed.
Well, I make sure I'll do 261 then at least. And like I said, I'm sure it'll be something that just says like, you got to stop now.
It'll be hopefully something natural for you. Like it'll be not natural. It'll be something that a thing. It's not like you'll lose motivation or anything. Hopefully, it's just something stops you from doing it. Well, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you carry on. But like, if it stops and when it stops, hopefully it is for a some reason. Because I was carrying on going. I kept at 250. I was like, damn, 250. That's a nice number. Can't stop now.
That's the thing. You get there and you're like, oh, this is nice. And then you're like, but if I stopped, like, why would I stop? I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
And I have had some comments from people like, it would have been, you probably should have just called it quits, at least for a week or two over the middle of over the, the summer or something like that, or during the COVID non-football period. But I mean, I've told people over and over, this is like my one hobby. Like this is, I don't know. It keeps my brain working because I gotta edit this. I have to, like, people don't understand. I got an hour and 45 minutes of on camera recording at this point. Like I got to make into a show that's halfway decent, So, and mostly because we've been enjoying this probably too much.
Yeah.
But it's some work. It's a workout for my brain, and yet it's somehow relaxing, and somehow it feels good to put it out and hear what other people think. And really the best part is I've sat here and talked to you for over 2 hours just about football and life, and the 15 minutes and the one beer we had together were great, and I hope we get to do it again.
For sure, and hopefully again in person at some point.
Yeah, for sure, and figure out the name of that bar. I don't know if I'll ever go there again. We did go upstairs and have, not with you, but my family. We went upstairs. We were going to eat dinner. They had some sort of Asian food up there. I'm not sure what it was, but I saw one plate come out, and my wife looked at it, and we just went like, we'll just run down the other way. So we didn't do that, but I did have a lot of beer in there. Anyway, all right, man. Well, I better let you go. It's getting I guess not that late, late-ish.
The night is young.
Yeah, for sure.
The lockdown night is young.
Yeah, so you still got time for a Zoom quiz or
I did do a quiz last night. It was quite enjoyable.
How'd you do?
I didn't win, but it was enjoyable. Had a few drinks, and it was with an old friend as well, so it was really good.
Okay, well, good for you. Having Zoomed, let's see, basically 7 hours a day, 5 days a week for the last 17 weeks at school. I'm not doing a Zoom quiz. I'm over it. I am the Zoom quiz master, and the kids all hate it. So there's no drinks happening. So
couldn't bear that at all. Wow.
Yeah. The kids care less about the Safavid Empire. I can tell you that. But anyway, thank you so much, Dan. If you want to follow you on Twitter and Instagram, it's @the_Dan_James. Links are in the show notes. We'll have you back on soon, hopefully, and hopefully you're back in the stadiums just as when the streak continues. We'll have to get you on for that one.
Yeah, if it continues. Yeah, it's been a pleasure coming on. Thank you for having me on your 200th episode. And I'm sure like everyone who's been on / everyone who listens would echo me in saying well done for what you've achieved. I know you don't like the big up every now and then, but you deserve it, because even though it's your hobby, you still put a lot of hard work and effort into it. And at the end of the day, you produce a really good podcast. So thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do appreciate it. I just don't deal with the I don't deal with that stuff so well. So no, whatever. But thanks again, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care.
That does it for this week's episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks goes out this week to Dan James. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram @the_Dan_James. Dan, thank you for coming on, for talking about the streak. All the conversations we've had, I have always enjoyed. And I just want to say thank you for sharing more time with me. I do owe you a beer. If we could preferably go to the Crown and Cushion again, that would be great, because I've even read the reviews. I wasn't lying about the price. That's the cheapest beer in London, I think. So we should go there. Or we'll go to Southampton somewhere. I don't know. But I owe you, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to getting you that beer at some point in the future. There are plenty of thanks to give out in this episode and in every episode. But thank you to Jay Grant, who runs the Southampton page. You can follow him on Twitter. Use that account to stay up with all of the Southampton news that is going on. I do not provide you that news. I tried not to look at Twitter, but whenever I need to find news, I look at the Southampton page, and that is where you should go as well. Links are in the show notes for that. The newest partner of the show is the Saints Archive, and where Jay at the Southampton page provides you with news, the Saints Archive will keep you up to date. The Saints Archive will fill you in on the history of the club, and it's been one of the things that I've really enjoyed learning about, especially over lockdown and over the summer, and something I'm continuing to look at now. We are working on a couple of episodes, so we will have some new Total Recalls recorded fairly soon, so be looking for those. We will of course publicize them, but that would not be possible without the Saints Archive. So thank you to Will and Leon for being willing to partner with me in this show, and I really do appreciate that. Matt Beeling does the logo for the show. You can find his work at We Are Southampton on Instagram. The patrons of the show make sure that this show is a labor of love still, but it's not a labor of love and a bunch of money. So thank you for your support. And last but not least, all of you out there who are listening, I don't know why you're listening, but thank you. And thank you for your support. And I look forward, and I hope that I can see many of you in real life at some point, and we can just enjoy the sights and sounds of St. Mary's full of fans at some point. So you would think after 200 weeks I would understand how to do this, but I do have to mention the songs and things like that. The intro song is Epic Song by Box Hat Games, and the end of show credits that is already over that you were listening to, but you're not listening to now, is Amos True by Poddington Bear. Thank you so much, as always. We will talk to you next week. And until then, remember, together, we march on. Because I couldn't really drink that much while we were talking, because it was like early in the morning. That one is for you. In a celebration of 200 episodes with all of you. Thank you so much.